Hi guys. I just wanted to make hopefully a fairly quick update video on how things are going with my Vala Reese illustration. I said in my last video that I would give an update. My last video was the artist pep talk video. The one about frustration and burnout and perseverance. I think those were all in the title of it. And I said that I was almost done with this illustration, and I am. I'm almost done. I think there are a few more things that I want to do, a few more effects maybe here and there, but I think that the vast bulk of the work on this illustration is done. I think it's in a place that I'm pretty happy with. There are maybe a few things that I would want to do differently for the future. One thing is I did I got the title in here, colored in the title and whatnot, and I think possibly for future use of this title, I might want to sort of bulk up the letters a little bit. I think they might be a bit on the thin side, but generally I like the style of them. I like the design. I'm definitely going to keep that, but again, I kind of feel like I could kind of bulk them up a little and maybe make some of the smaller letters, like the A's here, maybe a little bigger, but I'm fairly happy with them. I think I'll leave them more or less as they are for the purposes of this image, yeah. So I'm very close to finishing this, and I'm pretty pleased at how it's turned out. And I think it will be, like I said in an earlier video, I wanted this image to be a nice sort of concise introduction into the sort of the feel, the tone, and the aesthetic of Savage States going forward. I wanted to put out an image that would kind of, in a sense, summarize a lot of what Savage States is about, and I think this image will do that pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm happy with the colors that I've established with it. I like the palette that sort of evolved, as the picture went along, and of course, I explained, my thinking behind the colors and my sort of, use of color theory, or the version of color theory that I'm familiar with, to develop the color palette. And so I'm pretty happy with how I managed to control that over the course of the image, and to retain and even enhance that, I think, as I rendered the image, into a more finished, shaded and highlighted version. So, and you can see I also did some more stuff with the sky. I'm actually really, this is actually one of, I really enjoy this sky that I managed to put in. And actually, I wasn't even necessarily envisioning doing this particular effect in the sky, this kind of cloud or smoke sort of effect, but just using a variety of brushes and tools, and blending and smudging type tools as well. It just kind of came about, and almost kind of like a happy accident. And so I'm really pretty pleased with that. That's actually one of the things that when I finished it, I was most sort of happy with. You work on a particular part of a picture, and sometimes you're really like dissatisfied with how it turns out, and you kind of get into like a little mini funk for a little while. Or other times, it turns out better than you were, sort of planning or anticipating, and you're like sort of elated for you have like a mini elation period of elation for a while. So you never know quite how that is going to go, but I think that turned out pretty well. And so yeah, I think there are a few more little things I could do, but I'm pretty happy with it. Also, another thing that I did that I didn't really explain in earlier videos that I was planning on doing was I rasterized or I made copies of the vector pen lines, ink lines, and then I converted those copies into raster layers, and then I went in and manually colored in. I locked the what do you call it? I locked the transparency on the on those lines, and went in and colored in and basically lightened. Basically lightened a lot of the pen lines. I don't think there are any pens in here that are actually black anymore. I think even the ones that look like they're black, they're slightly colored. Like they're like, they have a bit of color to them. So they're not pure black, So I ended up going in and, areas that had more light hitting them, I would color them. I would make them lighter, and the ones that are more in shadow are obviously, left them darker. So I'm pretty pleased with how things turned out, and I'm pretty eager to, officially, finish this image, put it up, kind of let people see what this sort of overall project is kind of about and kind of what it looks like, and then just proceed on with. I've already shown, I think in some other videos, I think I've posted at least 2 other videos where I showed some other illustrations that I've been working on as well, and sort of simultaneously with this illustration. As I pointed out in my last video, I like to be able to sort of bounce between a few different illustrations or images at any given time, so that I don't get burned out on one. Like with this image, as I'm rendering it, as I'm coloring it, shading, highlighting, all of that, adding effects, that takes quite a bit of time, and it's quite intensive, and I like to have something else that I can go and like ink, for instance, or just draw. That is obviously, that's another part of the process. That's, it's not coloring, that's not rendering. I can go and do that, and sort of, that kind of is a bit of a release valve for me, so that I don't get burned out on just, the coloring or the rendering. For me, a lot of times the more stressful parts of the process are the sort of the coloring and the rendering and the shading and all of that sort of thing. And so in order to sort of relieve some of that tension, I need a good, an image I can go and, ink, or just, refine the drawing on, or what have you. So that's what I was doing with showing in some of those other images. And you should see finished rendered versions of those illustrations in the near future as well, and I'll show some of my progress on those. And another thing that I wanted to address in this video, and I think what I'll end with, is that I'm thinking that I'm probably not going to continue doing the kind of like real-time process videos that I have been posting, that I've been putting up. I did a whole bunch of those with this illustration, you know, showing my process with this illustration, and what I found was that you know, for one thing, they ended up being really long. There ended up being a lot of those videos, and in the process of making those, you know, trying to work on actually doing my process while I described it, explained it, and just talked, you know, during the process, it slowed me down quite a bit. It slowed down my process quite a bit, and it got to the point where I really just wanted to push through and finish my process, you know, get the image to the state that it is now. And if I had kept making those kinds of videos, and talking during those videos and explaining things, then I wouldn't have arrived at this point, at you know, this stage in the image yet. I would still be, you know, kind of trying, you know, it would still be a while before I would get to this point. And so I kind of determined that you know, from here on out, I'll probably sort of, anytime a kind of a critical point in my process during an illustration comes up, you know, where I think there's some helpful information I can convey during that part of the process, I'll make a video. Or anytime a particular topic comes to mind, or if I'm going through the process and an idea pops up for a video, some little tip or trick or something that I want to point out, or just something I want to philosophize about, I'll make a video about that. But yeah, I think that unless I find a way to just get a lot quicker with those real-time process videos, you know, unless I find a way to do that, I think I'm going to probably stop doing those kinds of videos. But I definitely want to continue making videos. I really enjoy talking about, you know, not just the art that I'm working on, but just art generally, and illustration, and just the good and the bad experiences that go along with doing this sort of stuff. And I definitely do want to continue chronicling basically the process of further developing this Savage States idea and world and body of work that I'm creating, and that I'll be putting out there. So you know, so yeah, there should be a lot more content coming out. It will hopefully be somewhat more refined, somewhat more concise in what each particular video is about. I know that you know, a lot of my process videos were, you know, they tended to be quite rambly, and I just kind of talk about anything, you know, and you know, there might be some good stuff in those, but I'm sure, I don't know, whatever, they are what they are. But again, I think I'm going to change my tact a bit in what videos I make, and in what I cover in those videos. And but there's always something else to talk about regarding, you know, art and illustration, and you know, ideas for things to talk about are always occurring to me. And so I'll hopefully I'll get some more things out there that are hopefully informative and helpful, and you know, and just things that, you know, can maybe start some discussion, or get some responses from viewers, or you know, whatever. So yeah, I think that should do it. And I'm, yeah, I'm hoping to get this image posted in places by, I don't know, hopefully by tomorrow. I'd love to do that. Although I'm sure I'll end up finding all little things I can nitpick here and there and kind of tinker with and all of that. But you know, I think I'll try to restrain myself with that and just kind of get this image done, get it up there, get it posted, and just move on with my other illustrations. So yeah, I think that's it. Just under 16 minutes. So I think that's pretty good length for this kind of video, update video. And yeah, I guess that's it. All right, talk to you later. Bye.